You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Forget the lies, the money. We're in this together and through it all. They said nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up? Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Hey yo soldier, welcome back to Reliving the War and welcome to the 26th of June 2000. Raw's in Worcester, Mass tonight while Nitro comes from Des Moines, Iowa. We just wrapped up King of the Ring 2000 and Kurt Angle won the tournament. This puts Angle in the WWF title picture and later on we'll see Angle's King of the Ring coronation. The Rock is once again WWF champion after he pinned Vince McMahon in the 6-man tag main event, so you'd assume Triple H is none too happy with Mr. McMahon. On Thunder this past week, the relationship between Rick Steiner and Tank Abbott ended after the two had a match. Abbott then attacked a fan wearing a 3 Count Suck shirt, and Tank was also seen dancing along to 3 Count's new song. Yeah, this is going completely off the rails, isn't it? Vampiro lured Dale Torborg to a graveyard, promising to return Asia to him, but of course this was a setup. And David Flair somehow convinced Daffney that it wasn't him kissing Miss Hancock last week. No, it was Jeff Jarrett or maybe Major Stash. Before we begin this week's episode, remember to sign up now for your very own Smokey the Cat plushie. The petition begins in a few weeks and it's only you reliving the war soldiers who can bring Smokey to life. And with all that out of the way, let's begin another week of Raw vs Nitro goodness. New WWF champion The Rock kicks off Raw with a promo while Ernest Miller sets the stage for another episode of Monday Nitro. Ice Train, now known as M.I. Smooth, gave Ernest Miller a great secret idea for Nitro's main event. Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo again aren't here tonight, but surely Ernest Miller and Mr. Smooth can't do any worse when it comes to booking matches. Miller promises a big show tonight with big ratings, so he announces a 4-way main event World Championship match. Champion Jeff Jarrett versus Kevin Nash versus Scott Steiner versus Goldberg. Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner have to win matches against Mike Awesome and Shane Douglas respectively to qualify for the match though. Jim Duggan shows up. Yeah, Jim Duggan. Jim says Miller, Bischoff and Russo can't keep messing about with people's lives. Hogan's hurt, Sting's hurt, Ric Flair's retired. Someone needs to stand up to the new blood, and so Hacksaw's here to save the day. Duggan says he used to respect Goldberg, but he doesn't anymore. So Miller books a Goldberg versus Duggan match. Jim reminds everyone about his health problems, but a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. If Jim wins, he'll get put in the fatal 4-way main event. If Goldberg wins, Billy Boy goes to our main event. A bit later on, Jim's wife tries to make him back down from the match. Duggan says he has to do this. And when Jim says he thinks he can actually win, old Deborah Duggan begins crying. Even she knows Jimbo hasn't got a chance. Over on Raw, The Rock says Vince McMahon may own the WWF, he may own a nice house, and he may own the world's greatest penis implant. But The Rock owns the WWF title and he owns Mr. McMahon's candy ass. Rock then announces that the McMahon-Hemsley faction is no more before inviting Vince to come out and face him. So McMahon comes out and he congratulates The Rock for becoming WWF champion. He wishes Rock good luck in this new Rock era. And McMahon says he's saying these things to The Rock because he gained some clarity last night after losing the 6-man tag. Vince wondered why Linda tried to make his life hell over the past few months, and it suddenly dawned on him when he looked up at the lights at King of the Ring. And it's because Linda loves her husband. Linda's been begging for Vince's attention and adoration, and upon reflection, Vince is now going to give Linda what she wants. Vince is going to give Linda all his attention. He says he'll be tender or rough with Linda whenever she wants. Jesus Christ. Vince says he'll give Linda another baby if she wants, so McMahon's going home to be a genetic jackhammer and he wants to shake Rock's hand before he leaves. Rock does indeed shake the chairman's hand, he's got a big smile on his face, but before Vince leaves, Rock tells him he'll always be an asshole and McMahon takes a rock bottom. Backstage, Stephanie doesn't want her dad to go, but it does look like Vince is going to be off TV for a while. He tells Stephanie to tell Hunter he's sorry. McMahon then drives off to, make babies. And when Triple H arrives at the arena, he doesn't seem to care much about this apology. He doesn't even say a word to his wife. Someone else who shows up to Raw is official WWF spokesman Shawn Michaels. Not only is he setting up a sniff shop backstage for the boys, but he's also going to cut an in-ring promo a bit later on.
We all get tired, I know how it goes. You need a little something to smash up your nose. Dial 811 LOL HBK. Shawn Sniff service will brighten up your day. Shawn Sniff delivery service. Super kick your face, make you feel alright. Shawn Sniff delivery service. One little snort and you'll be high as a kite.
Vampiro says he wants a meeting tonight between himself, Dale Torborg and the Demon. Dale says he's going to make Vampiro sorry he ever tried to bring the Demon back. And isn't it weird how they're trying to make the Demon character seem like this horrific, unmerciful, ass-kicking machine when in reality the Demon was a total jobber? Shane Douglas finds out he's in a match later against Scott Steiner and he's not happy at all. He decides he's going to leave Nitro tonight just to avoid Big Papa Pump, but Ice Train reminds Shane he'll get fired if he leaves the building. Who would have thought leaving the arena would get you fired, eh? Imagine that. Smooth gives Shane an idea and we'll come back to this later on. Rikishi defends his IC title against Chris Benoit in our next Raw match. On Nitro we've got Ray and Hoovy versus newcomers Mark Jindrak and Sean O'Hare. The Filthy Animals made fun of Jindrak and O'Hare, but these power plant hopefuls showed some serious promise in the early going. Sean manhandled Juventud, which, yeah, okay, it isn't really that hard to do, and Jindrak showed some great agility for a guy his size. Mark seemed like the weaker link here though as the match progressed. Ray and Juventud were able to get the better of Jindrak, but they eventually missed a double dropkick which led to some serious scissor action in the middle of the ring. Big Sean came in with a great looking double clothesline, and after Ray got sent to the outside, Sean O'Hare continued to completely steal the show with a Swanton bomb. Jindrak and O'Hare win via pinfall, which should be considered an upset, and when the Animals tried to launch an attack after the bell, the newcomers were helped by Lance Storm. This is, holy crap, this is some good stuff here. 3 count versus the Young Dragons last week, Animals versus O'Hare and Jindrak this week. We're back, boys. WCW's winning the Monday Night War. Ernest Miller tells the Animals to find Lance Storm and take him out. The boys get together to form a game plan, but they have absolutely no luck as they continue getting attacked by someone holding a lead pipe. We all assume it's Lance Storm, but the attacker will get revealed near the end of Nitro tonight. Chris Benoit wanted to win his IC title back in our next Raw match, but he was unable to do so. Things got a bit spicy between these two at King of the Ring, but you already know that because you watched the video, right? Big Goose was still selling that arm, but he was able to flatten Benoit before setting him up for the bonsai drop. At that very moment, Taz showed up to attack Rikishi with a chair. So what's going on here? Taz actually doing something in the WWF? Interesting. Let's see where this goes while also keeping our expectations in check. Benoit delivered another chair shot before hitting his diving headbutt. A bad night for Big Rikishi. Big Vito called himself the greatest WCW hardcore champion that ever lived, the Pavarotti of hard shots to the body. He issued an open challenge to anyone in the back, and so the Young Dragons came out to shut Big Vito up. Vito had it all under control for a minute, but he couldn't overcome the 3-on-1 advantage. The Young Dragons destroyed the hardcore champ, and check out the Dragons jumping off the top rope at the same time. Good stuff. Kaz and Jimmy-san covered Vito, Yang made the count. No official referee here, and the Dragons didn't take the belt, so I assume Vito is still hardcore champion. Johnny the Bull, meanwhile, is getting trained backstage by Terry Funk, and Johnny's learning the hard way. He really has to learn to watch his back. Shane Douglas is pretending to have a twisted ankle thanks to someone spilling water on the floor. The cat buys it hook, line and sinker, and he also takes Shane's advice in regards to booking Buff Bagwell as a replacement in the Scott Steiner match. When the cat leaves, Shane slips a few $100 bills to Mr. Smooth, so even Miller's chauffeur's working against him. Next on Raw, we've got Chris Jericho versus X-Pac. On Nitro, 3 count take on the perfect event. Jericho gave Stephanie a kiss last night at King of the Ring, and Y2J wants to explain his actions. He compares what he did to seeing a big nasty piece of roadkill on the side of the road. You want to look at it, you want to poke it with a big stick, but Jericho went one step further and he kissed the roadkill. Mate, I have never wanted to kiss a dead animal, but you do you, Chris. Stephanie came to the ring with Chris's opponent X-Pac. Waltman must be Stephanie's hired gun tonight. And we begin with a power slam from Chris, followed by a total failure to build any kind of momentum. Jericho struggled against X-Pac here, and within no time at all, Y2J found himself in position for the Bronco Buster. X-Pac ended up missing the move though, and after Jericho put Waltman down with a face buster, he went outside to get another piece of some roadkill. Now, Jericho was obviously told Road Dogg was going to show up and try to attack him from behind, but Chris turns around too early and he thinks the cameraman is actually Road Dogg. Either that or Chris just likes punching innocent cameramen, but let's move on. X-Pac takes the double powerbomb and Jericho performs the lion salt. Stephanie gets on the apron and all it takes is a double axe handle from Road Dogg to secure X-Pac the victory. Why would such a lame move put Chris down for the 1-2-3? After the bell, Stephanie kicks Jericho in the nuts, so the balance has been restored, I guess. On Nitro, Tank Abbott was spotted dancing the 3 Count's new song.
We like the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC too. Britney Spears is kinda cute. We watch TRL on MTV. Everybody 3 count, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
The problem with the song Dance with 3 Count is that it'll stick in your head for the rest of the day and your mates are going to catch you singing it. The chicks are going to love you though. Someone was screwing around with the audio backstage and Tank found out it was Stasiak and Palumbo. So 3 Count's #1 fan dragged the tag team champions down to the ring and he forced them to defend their tag team belts. So Ernest Miller can make matches, Miller's limo driver can make matches, Eric Bischoff can make matches, Vince Russo can make matches, Tank fucking Abbott can make matches. Where's the law and order in WCW? Good action here though, and I'm mightily impressed with WCW's efforts tonight to showcase younger talent while staying away from the usual suspects. But there are a few problems here too. These young talents aren't what anyone would call popular or over, and I think a bit more work was needed in regards to their characters and stories. The other issue I see is that the second half of Nitro is likely going to feature all the big money players, and that means the match quality is going to sink pretty fast, but we shouldn't complain. WCW's put on way better matches than the WWF so far this week, and I hope this kind of focus continues. Fantastic work from both teams here, but 3 Count were definitely the show stealers. Unfortunately, they took a loss after Palumbo used his muscle flexor and Shane took a double flapjack, so the Perfect Event are still tag team champions. After the bell, Chronic came down to beat up Stasiak and Palumbo. This got a good reaction as both guys took the high times. 3 Count wanted to perform their song after the bell, and when Chronic went for these guys too, Tank Abbott acted as their bodyguard. Tank Abbott loves these boys so much that he wants to protect them at all costs. Val Venis gets a shot at Eddie Guerrero's European title next on Raw. On Nitro, we've got Goldberg versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Old Val Venis, eh? I'm not sure if I'm being too harsh, but for some reason this guy's really fucking annoyed me these past few months and I don't know why. It's not his fault for sure, it's more to do with how he's being booked, but it feels like he's now wasting valuable time that could be spent on other guys and girls. Non-value Val Venis. Of course, Eddie bumps around the ring for him here while making Mr. Venis look as good as possible, and the sneaky Trish Stratus gets in a cheap shot too. Chyna's hot on Trish's tail though, and Eddie's able to fight back with a Hurricane Rana back in the ring. This is such a waste of Eddie Guerrero's talents, man. I'm sorry. The two collide in the ring and Trish decides she's going to help Val out while Chyna's on the apron. Mamacita decides, nah, not today, and she puts Trish on the mat before attacking Venis. Eddie gets disqualified, but he and Chyna have some fun slapping Venis around after the bell. Miss Stratus doesn't do a single thing as Venis gets annihilated. Eddie and Chyna pull off a double DDT. Eddie then sits in the corner while Chyna powerbombs Trish. Entertaining enough, but not what anyone would call a good match.
Jim Duggan, it's time to face the facts. Gonna ruin your face, gonna shove that 2x4 up your ass. Jim Duggan, time to face Billy Boy. Learn the meaning of fear when you take the fucking spear.
Well, here we go. Jim Duggan has a chance to make history and Ernest Miller wants a fair fight. He tells Duggan to get rid of the 2x4 and yeah, I agree with Miller. No weapons allowed, mister. Duggan calls Goldberg a tough guy or something as the two go nose to nose. Duggan then gets the better of Goldberg with a ton of punches and the crowd goes nuts right here. The fire gets put out though with a lariat from Billy Boy and this gets followed up with some scrapping at the ropes. On the outside, Jim gets thrown into the ring post. A few bozos in the front row want a high five from Goldberg, but Bill's like, sorry home dog, I'm a bad guy now. And when we get in the ring, Goldberg delivers a kidney shot before putting Duggan on the mat with a fireman's carry. Goldberg wrenches down on Hacksaw's neck. Jim pulls off some wonderful faces here, but pulling faces doesn't win matches. It takes no effort at all from Goldberg to put Hacksaw back down again, and he sends a message to Kevin Nash when he says, "This is for you, boy." We think it's all over, but Duggan surprises everyone with a body slam. He then signals for the 3-point stance clothesline, but oh no, spear from Billy Boy. Bill's like, ugh, after the move, and I'm not sure if he's imitating Hacksaw here or if he's just really feeling it right now. Duggan falls victim to the jackhammer, and that's all she wrote. Bill Goldberg defeats the legendary Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Goldberg lays in some more kidney shots after the bell. Remember, Jim was diagnosed with kidney cancer, but Goldberg doesn't care. He says the blood's on Nash's hands, and I'm sorry, I know this is supposed to be serious, but the faces Duggan pulls off when spitting up blood is some of the silliest shit I've seen in a while. And yes, I did just watch Tank Abbott dance to 3 Counts music. Kurt Angle's getting ready for his coronation. It's a big night for our Olympic gold medalist and he's trying to work out what he should call himself. King Kurt, Royal Gold Medalist. This guy here doesn't even know what his own name is, what day it is, or what he's doing at a wrestling show. Kurt was supposed to come out to address the fans, but instead Shawn Michaels is here and he's gonna cut a promo. On Nitro we've got Kevin Nash versus Mike Awesome again. HBK was made the official spokesperson for WWF by Linda McMahon, so I guess he's here to officially speak. Shawn knows everyone was waiting for Angle's coronation, but HBK has a major announcement. He's going to make that announcement before Kurt shows up. This announcement involves the #1 contender for the WWF Championship, so here comes Shawn's old buddy Triple H storming to the ring looking all pissed off. HBK and the game share a handshake in the ring. Hunter reminds Shawn that they have been through a lot over the years, and Hunter assumes that HBK must feel pretty angry after seeing his old friend getting screwed over at King of the Ring. Triple H says he wasn't beaten for his championship. Shawn nods his head in agreement, and Hunter goes on to say that people have been calling him a loser all day long when he didn't even lose at the pay-per-view last night. Hunter thinks that Shawn's going to make him the #1 contender for the belt that he never lost, and HBK says he can't argue with anything Hunter just said. Triple H is absolutely right, but there's one small problem here. Shawn Michaels is not the commissioner, he gave that job up and he's now a lowly spokesman. HBK can't help Triple H, but he can introduce Hunter to the new WWF Commissioner, and that Commissioner is none other than Mick Foley. This announcement goes down really well and fans are delighted to see Foley back in the WWF. Mick makes his way down to the ring, HBK leaves, and here we go, Mick Foley and Triple H standing in the ring once again. Foley says he just came from a very successful business meeting. Linda McMahon has bestowed some new powers upon Mrs. Foley's baby boy, and yes, Mick Foley can choose who the #1 contender currently is. Vince McMahon isn't here, and that means Mick Foley is the new WWF matchmaker. He says people will never have to listen to another boring 20-minute Triple H promo ever again, and this too gets a pop from the audience. Hunter wants to make it really simple, seeing as Mick Foley's an idiot. Either Mick makes Triple H the #1 contender, or he's going to beat the crap out of Foley right here in the middle of the ring. Foley says Triple H is worthy for consideration, but the #1 contender Foley selects won't get picked for using hurtful language or threats of intimidation. And that's when Mr. Integrity himself, Kurt Angle, shows up wearing his crown and holding his scepter. Kurt gets in the ring. He wants to know what the heck's going on here, seeing as his promo time's getting seriously taken up. And Kurt believes he should be #1 contender, seeing as he beat 3 guys last night while Triple H lost his match. Fair point. Gold medalist, former Eurocontinental champion, current royalty. Everyone knows Angle should be #1 contender, including these commoners in the audience. Mick says Angle does indeed deserve a shot at the title before laughing at how silly Kurt looks right now. And then Mick books a match. There's going to be a number one contender triple threat match tonight on Raw. Angle versus Triple H versus The Rock. If Rock wins, then the Great One doesn't have to dignify either of these guys with a title opportunity. If Triple H or Angle wins, then the winner's going to face Rocky on SmackDown this week for the belt. The promo ends with Mick leaving the ring and Triple H getting in a cheap shot on Angle, but Triple H really shouldn't take Kurt lightly. It's true, it's damn true. Over on Nitro, remember what I said about the quality of the show taking a nosedive? I actually like both guys involved here, but you know exactly what to expect. Nash's usual offense and Awesome pulling off moves that are easy bumps for Kevin. As a matter of fact, Awesome only got 2 moves in, his diving clothesline and his diving splash. Guess you gotta make them count in these kind of situations. Nash needed the win in order to get put in the main event Fatal 4-Way, and win he did. Awesome brought a chair into the ring, but that chair got kicked in Mike's face, so we've got Goldberg, Nash and Jarrett in the main event, and we'll find out if Scott Steiner's included too in just a moment. On Raw next, we've got an over-the-top, off-with-the-top match, Dean Malenko versus Jerry Lawler. On Nitro, Scotty Steiner takes on Buff Bagwell. So in this Raw match, we've got 2 ladies standing at the entranceway, Terry Runnels and the Cat. If Dean gets thrown over the top rope, then Terry has to remove an item of clothing, and same for the Cat if Lawler goes over the top rope. Terry didn't want to do this match, but she promised Dino Machino a private show if he wins, and Lawler got promised a Bronco Buster from the Cat if he won the match. My god. After very little action in the ring and a lot of pausing so the women could take their clothes off, it was Terry who ended up losing. Jerry Lawler couldn't wait to see her big fake mama jammas, but Stevie Richards, wearing a shirt and tie, ran out with a giant censored sign and he covered Terry up. Horn Dog fans of 2000 WWF weren't happy with this turn of events, but this right here is the beginning of the Right to Censor faction. So Buff Bagwell takes Shane Douglas's spot in this Nitro match, and seeing as everyone the Cat announced earlier has already qualified for the main event, I fully expect Scotty Steiner to win this one. Buff poses in front of Scott, Scott gives Bagwell the middle finger, and we have a Steiner line and elbow drop from Scott followed with a clothesline and neckbreaker from Buff Daddy. The two go to the corner where Bagwell performs a Vader bomb and Scott pays Buff back in kind by ramming him into the opposite corner. Bagwell then gets choked out before Scott picks him up for a suplex, but Bagwell avoids a Steiner recliner with an electric chair hotshot. Buff then signals for the blockbuster, he pulls off his finishing move. Somehow though, Steiner kicks out at 2, which I don't think anyone's ever done before, and Scott ends up winning it after a belly-to-belly suplex. After the bell, Bagwell and Steiner shake hands. These two have flip-flopped on each other so much, but you come to the realization that babyfaces just like other babyfaces in WCW, and that's just the way it goes. After Scott leaves, Bagwell gets attacked by Shane Douglas. Scotty runs back down for the save, and Douglas hightails it through the audience. And it all ends with Bagwell and Steiner posing on the turnbuckles while the crowd goes mild. Jeff Jarrett knows he can lose his championship tonight without even getting pinned, but that's not going to happen. Double J says he's hopeful Hollywood Hogan can get up from his wheelchair and come to Bash at the Beach in a few weeks' time because Double J's going to be waiting for him. Earlier on, we saw Positively Kenyon signing copies of his book, only he didn't have any customers and things were going pretty slow. Some fans did end up appearing when Chris promised free drink vouchers, and even Booker T showed up to get a signed book and a free beer. Booker repaid the favour by beating the shit out of Chris, and we will be seeing Booker T versus Positively Kenyon at Bash at the Beach. New tag team champions Edge and Christian feel that they should have their very own locker room just like The Rock. If Mick Foley was a good commissioner, he'd do what he could right now to accommodate the WWF's tag team champions. After quoting The Wizard of Oz, Mick says he'll see what he can do. And yeah, the tag team champions get a locker room that totally reeks of awesomeness. The boys then want some beverages because sodas rule, so they tell Mick to go fetch them a nice cold drink. Mick says no problem, and hopefully the boys are well rested for their tag team match later tonight. They question Mick on who their opponents are, and Foley reveals that Kane and The Undertaker are going to face Edge and Christian a bit later on in a non-title match. The boys look a little intimidated. In the meantime, Raw presents a tag team battle royal to decide who will be the number one contenders for the tag belts, while on Nitro we've got a Miss Hancock and Daffney promo. So who have we got here? Too Cool, the Hardy Boys, TNA, the APA, the Dudleys, D'Lo and Saturn, Kai and Tai. Kai and Tai should be on Raw way more often. And I think that's it. Kai and Tai were the first ones eliminated, which is a damn shame if I do say so myself. The Dudleys were out next, which was kinda surprising. The boys decided to take it out on Kai and Tai, which was completely uncalled for. The Hardys eliminated Too Cool, but Albert was responsible for getting rid of the Hardys, and so D'Lo, Saturn, Test and Albert decided to team up and get rid of the APA. This didn't work. Test got eliminated by Bradshaw and Saturn got eliminated by Farouk. So the APA are the number one contenders for Edge and Christian's tag team belts. The boys get their opportunity this week on SmackDown. On Nitro, Miss Hancock came to the ring to do what she always does, dance for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Remember she used to come out and take notes on performers in the ring? What happened to that? Were all those notes for nothing? In the middle of the dance, Daffney comes out to get a piece of Stacey, but Daffney hurt herself after performing a spear. This allows Stacey to leave the ring relatively unhurt, and Daffney grabs a microphone to say she's not blind and she knows Stacey's trying to steal her fiancé, the absolute stud muffin that is David Flair, or David Russo, not sure if that little relationship is now over. Daffney challenges Miss Hancock to a match at Bash at the Beach, and during a backstage interview with Pamela Paulshock, Stacey ups the ante by making it a wedding gown match. Stacey says this will give Daffney a chance to wear her $3 wedding dress she got at the Salvation Army. So there you go, another match booked for Bash at the Beach. Edge and Christian tell Mick Foley they're not going to fight the Brothers of Destruction, but Foley is the Commissioner, and the lads get told they'll get stripped of the tag team championships if they don't compete. So that match is up next on Raw, while on Nitro we've got Disco Inferno versus Lance Storm. The Animals continued getting attacked backstage by someone using a lead pipe, so Disco, he's now called the Hip Hop Inferno because he's so fucking rad. He's going to take matters into his own hands. Disco, yeah, I'm just calling him Disco. Disco's not sure if Lance is stupid or just Canadian, but you don't show up to Nitro thinking you can attack anyone you please. Try telling that to the entire roster, Disco. But the Inferno wants to do things the right way and challenge Lance to a one-on-one match. Storm appears from the audience and we begin with a super kick straight to Disco's face. Lance then pulls off a top rope back elbow. This gets followed up with a drop kick, and I'm firmly in the camp that believes Lance Storm had one of, if not the best drop kicks in the business. Disco takes a suplex, he then stops a top rope move and he's able to pull off a neckbreaker. There's a bit of a timing issue next, or maybe a communication issue, but Lance misses a drop kick while Disco misses his second rope elbow drop. The match continues on with Lance performing a Frankensteiner. Disco then takes a handspring clothesline. The Inferno then has a chance to put Lance away with a chartbuster, but Storm counters and we see the Canadian Maple Leaf. Storm wins via submission and he gets rewarded with a post-match beatdown from the Filthy Animals. When Lance takes a Bronco Buster and when it appears all hope's been lost, Billy Kidman shows up holding the lead pipe. It was Kidman who attacked the Animals earlier on and he's here to attack them once again. Billy cleans the ring out and he shakes Lance's hand after wiping out his old buddies. The Raw match was pretty much over before you knew it. 1 minute and 30 seconds here, ladies and gents, so not the best way to get your new tag team champions over. Edge and Christian got destroyed, and the moment the champs tried to fight back, they got set up for stereo chokeslams. The Brothers of Destruction win via pinfall, and it looks like Kane and Undertaker are once again on the same page. Remember when Vampiro challenged Dale Torborg to bring the Demon along for a little backstage meeting? Well, the two meet up in the boiler room and they have a brawl. I guess Dale's now the Demon, but you sure wouldn't know it. He's getting his ass kicked all over the place. Eventually, Dale gets put in a conveniently placed coffin and Vampiro's just about to shut the lid. But then, someone in a Sting mask appears and he attacks Vampiro from behind. While knocked out on the floor, Vampiro gets the Sting mask put on his face. And I don't care about this, I want to know who Lampshade Man was from a few weeks ago. Our main event on Nitro is the Fatal 4-Way World Championship match, while Raw presents The Rock vs Triple H vs Kurt Angle. The Nitro match began a bit early backstage. Goldberg's taken out Kevin Nash, so Jeff Jarrett and Scotty Steiner were free to do as they please back in the arena. The fight between these two begins on the entranceway, though back in the ring, Steiner pulls off a gorilla press slam, and again, WCW are putting in sound effects, yet they didn't do this at any other point during this show. As Steiner pulls off a tilt-a-whirl side slam, Goldberg's music plays and Billy Boy hits the ring. One punch puts Scott on the mat, and this gets followed up with Goldberg's gorilla press power slam. Billy Boy looks to end it early. He lines up a spear, but he misses the move. This allows Scott to pull off the same belly-to-belly he beat Bagwell with, but Jarrett pulls the referee out of the ring and the match continues on. It's now devolved into a 2-on-1 beatdown. I guess Goldberg has no interest in winning the championship as he jaw-jacks the audience. The fans are now waiting for Kevin Nash to make an appearance, but they'll have to wait a bit longer as Goldberg pulls off an armbar and Jarrett walks around the ring looking a bit lost. Mike Awesome then appears and he snatches the US title away from Madeja. Awesome has a US title match lined up against Steiner at Bash at the Beach, but I guess he wants the belt right now. Goldberg gets sent to the outside, Scott performs a powerbomb and a Davey Boy Smith running power slam, Mike Awesome pulls Scott out of the ring, and Steiner gets clobbered with his own title belt. Before Awesome and Goldberg can do any more damage, Nash makes his grand entrance. He goes straight after Double J though, and Jarrett takes all 4 of Kevin Nash's moves. What a hero. Kev then spices it up by hitting a chokeslam on Jarrett. He then plants Mike Awesome with a jackknife, and when he hits Goldberg with a big boot, the crowd pops. Unfortunately, Goldberg feels no pain and he's able to stay on his feet, and Billy Boy avoids a jackknife thanks to Jeff Jarrett. Our match ends with Nash taking the super safe sidekick from Billy Boy, and Goldberg allows Jarrett to pin Nash for the 1-2-3. Ridiculous that Goldberg wouldn't want to capture the World Championship, but remember too, Bill did say he only wants revenge on the guys who stabbed him in the back. I guess Jeff Jarrett doesn't qualify. Goldberg did indeed poop out Scott Hall's contract when Nitro went off the air last week, and he gives Nash a good look at it before Nitro goes off the air. On Raw, Kurt Angle comes out first and he joined the commentary team during The Rock and Triple H's entrances. This gave him the chance to sneak attack Rock when the champ was too focused on the game. Kurt and Triple H then team up, Rock comes back with a double clothesline, Triple H ensures the match doesn't end after a tilt-a-whirl power slam from The Rock, and we go outside where The Rock can do his favourite Monday night pastime, fight beside the commentary table. Rock ensures Stephanie doesn't get involved and he tries to keep his advantage back in the ring, but he gets thrown right into a Kurt Angle suplex as the Angle and Triple H alliance continues on. Hunter performs a knee drop, and when Kurt goes for the cover, Triple H isn't too happy. The boys try to put this behind him as they refocus on taking out The Rock, but Angle breaks up Hunter's cover, and it's only a matter of time before these two start wrecking each other. Rock throws Hunter out of the ring. This allows him to hit a Samoan drop on Angle. Hunter comes back in and he takes a belly to belly, but the heels show some good teamwork with a facebreaker knee smash into a back suplex. The problem here is that neither of these guys are going to let the other win the match, and Hunter proves this by kicking Angle square in the balls. Once Hunter throws Rock out of the ring, Angle and Triple H finally throw down. It's Hunter who ends up putting Kurt down with a neckbreaker, but he's unable to follow up. Rock takes over in the ring as he and Kurt go to work, and Rock looks for a people's elbow following a spinebuster, but Hunter takes him out. Angle then stops a pedigree by knocking Triple H out of the ring. Kurt performs the Olympic slam, but Triple H breaks the cover. Angle then takes the pedigree, and this is Hunter's best chance at winning, seeing Rock still out. But Chris Jericho runs down to distract the game, and Hunter gets his neck snapped over the top rope. One rock bottom later, and Rocky wins the triple threat match. So that means neither Angle or Hunter are getting a title shot this week on SmackDown. The Raw main event was way better than Nitro's, but that's to be expected, I guess. Yeah, the Raw main event was better this week, but I'm still giving the point to Nitro, and it's solely based on Nitro's first hour. The Mick Foley return on Raw was good, and the main event was decent enough, but I really enjoyed seeing the Youngblood working the first lot of Nitro matches, and I wish these could have been spread out a bit more evenly. Like WCW booked qualifying matches for the main event, why not begin the show with one of these matches so the younger guys can get the opportunity a bit later on the show? Again, Raw was decent, and I think if I watched both shows without covering the entire Monday Night War, I'd probably say Raw was better. But seeing the change in our number one after putting up with terrible Nitros for quite some time, it does make you appreciate WCW's efforts a bit more. Nitro's on 81 points. They can't catch up, but here, have a point anyway. And in the TV ratings, Nitro got wrecked. They got a 2.8 while Raw brought in a 6.4. And just like that, we're now in July. Next week on Raw, we've got Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit, the Brothers of Destruction versus Edge and Christian, only this time the tag belts are up for grabs. Commissioner Mick Foley sets up his own little office deep inside the arena boiler room, and The Rock defends his WWF title in the main event. Over on Nitro, we've got another 3 Count versus Young Dragons match, and I'm not complaining at all. Old Dirty Dale brings back the Kiss Demon because that's what everyone wants. And David Flair continues to have woman trouble as he tries to deal with Miss Hancock and Daffney. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and please take care.